Hi, Shantae. I'm here with political stuff. I hope all is well on this Thursday, July 2nd, as we enter into our 4th of July. As you know, people say Freedom Weekend. I say 4th of July weekend or Independence Day weekend. It's not going to be your normal cookouts with families and all. But if you want to risk it, go ahead. I mean, that's your life. But I decided that I am staying in. I have not seen my mom and all my sisters. Well, my sister in 4 months. My other sister in 3. My father comes down once a week to bring me stuff from my mom. And even we don't hug, nothing. But, I mean, anything to save their life is for me to stay the hell away from them. I hope you guys are doing the same. Stay away from your family. But anyhow, I got some numbers for you. So, it's still the pandemic. It's a pandemic. I need people to understand it's a global pandemic. It's not a hoax. So, that being said, globally, we are almost at 11 million cases around the world. So, we at 10,836,500. That's a lot. And the USA, the United States of America, accounts a third of the cases on the globe. Whoop-de-doo. Great job, America. We are at 2,735,554 cases of COVID-19. We are a third of 2.7. It's bad. Really bad. The number of fatalities are at 128,684. Followed by some countries. Brazil is second behind us at 1.4 million. They're 1,496,858, and their fatalities is next in line with us with 61,884, followed by Russia at 660,231, which their death toll was, last time I checked, was in like the 9,000s. I don't know where the number jumped to. I tried to find it on the John Hopkins website, because that's where you could go get these numbers, and that's where it is. India is at 604,641, and they have 17,000, almost 18,000 deaths. They at 17,834. Peru, shockingly, is above the UK. Peru is at 294,004, which their fatalities are at 10,045. The UK, which I think they had a recovery rate. I'm not quite as sure. Like, the last time I checked, I think they were at 300,000. Do I have it written in my book? Because I have it written. Some of my stuff is written on loosest pieces of paper. So, yeah, the last time I checked with their cases, it was like in the 300,000s. Now I think they resolved. Some people resolved. So their cases have decreased. So their cases now is at 285,266. So I think it dropped by a good, I'm assuming like a good 25,000, which is pretty good for the European nation, since they banned us for not going into their country. I mean, they got every right, because if it happened in other countries, the U.S. will possibly do the same thing. So, yep. Now, some black and brown nations. I'm going to start with the Latin countries first. Dominican Republic is seeing 34,197, with their death toll is almost at 800. Panama is at 35,237. Wow. I don't know what's going on in Panama, but I'm a little nervous about my people, you know. Honduras is at yeah, Chantel, wow, is at 20,262. It seems like the brown Latin countries are suffering more than the white Hispanic countries. Something is wrong. I don't know what's going on. Hope everyone's okay. If anything, I hope there's an initiative where people can send a mask. Maybe there's a lack of PPE. Maybe they've been asking us. Oh wow, there is. So they've probably been asking the U.S. for PPE, and of course Trump don't want to give anything to anybody that's not white. You know how that go. In African countries, I didn't get the chance to get Haiti's numbers, but I'm pretty sure it's in the 6,000s by now. South Africa is at 168,061. Ooh. Ghana is at 18,134. Senegal is at 7,054. Kenya is at 6,941. And shockingly, Gambia is only at 55. Maybe they did a lockdown because Africa's a continent. Some Africans believe of science and some don't, which I'm like, huh? But they're containing their coronavirus a little bit better than the United States of America. I'm pretty sure they had a lot of testing. I'm pretty sure they would have contained it a lot better than we are, because we count for a third of it, and we're supposed to be the freest nation of the world. Like I said, all these numbers, you can find it on the Johns Hopkins website. West Indies, Jamaica moved up from 715. I think they were at 704, and now they're at 715. I don't know what's going on in Jamaica. The Diamond Princess, they even surpassed the Diamond Princess, and the Diamond Princess cases remains flatlined. Stay the same, 712. Guyana moved up about 2 cases, so they're at 250. Trinidad has stayed flat the same just for now at 130, followed by Bahamas, stay flat the same. Barbados is at 97. St. Vincent stay the same. Belize is at 28. Grenada, St. Lucia, and Dominica all stay the same. Grenada is at 23. St. Lucia is at 19. Dominica is at 18. So I did all the global stuff, mostly. Because it's 188 countries, so I'm not looking at a whole bunch of 188 companies. I'll randomly pick stuff that, is alarming, or it's like, what the hell? How that happened? So, of course, New York has the most cases. We had 399,642 cases of COVID-19, which our cases surge a little, but it's not like rising. We're not consist of the rising. It's cases that stay the same. Our recovery rate, our death toll is in the 30s, like 32,000, but our recovery rate is in the 70,000. It's 70,698. That's not bad for a state that went through a lot. Our recovery rate is high. It's like one of the highest. Followed by California, who has surpassed New Jersey. California and Texas have surpassed New Jersey. California is at 248,027, which their death toll is at 6,262. They had to close down their bars and their restaurants, like Texas and Florida, and their movie theaters. Texas is at 181,081, which their death toll is at 2,562. New Jersey is 4th. New Jersey cases are falling. Is at 174,212, which their death toll is the second highest in the 15,000, because it was the same as New York, because with the airports, New York and New Jersey, we had the largest airport hubs, 9 times out of 10. Florida is at 169,698, which their death toll is about 3,600, so 3,616, and they just saw 10,000 cases today, new ones. But Ron DeSantis said all those cases came from New Yorkers. You're right. You left the beaches open for spring break. We opened too fast. You didn't even shut down for a long time. And Arizona's another one. 87,495. That's a big jump for 40,000 last week. Georgia, 82,475. Their death toll, 2,800. That's crazy. So overall, my take on these cases is that these Republican governors, as my governor, Andrew Cuomo, said, they all listened to Donald Trump, tried to reopen fast, lifted their social distancing measures, opened up movie theaters, restaurants, hair salons, nail salons, not following the science, disregarding the scientists like Dr. Fauci and them, and on top of it, not following the metrics of having a certain occupancy. We're still in the global pandemic. Yes, there was civil unrest. People say, oh, there was protesters. Protesters did not really account for the coronavirus. There's protesters in New York, and half of them went to go get tested probably after the protests. Because if it was protesters, you know how much New Yorkers would have been diagnosed already? It would have surpassed the 300,000 mark. It probably would have been somewhere in the 500s. But guess what? They went to go get their goddamn ass tested. They probably went to go take off their clothes when they got to their doorstep or their apartment. These people in the South, it didn't come for protest. That came from going to the club without a mask, drinking, using the same hookah machine to smoke your hookah, and that's what happened. That's all I'm saying. Speaking of financial implications, according to, so Trump had his little press conference today. A whole bunch of lies. He touted lowering the unemployment rate has been lowered down to 11.1%. And said 2 million jobs were added, and he once revised it again. They're going upwards. So now he added like the 700 million. I'm about to deconstruct that. Also, he says 2 months. He said they created jobs within the last 2 months of the 7.5 million jobs. It's not been created. He said the economy is roaring back and it's extremely strong. They said they stated 2.1 million leisure and hospitality jobs were created. Those are historic numbers. 740,000 retail jobs were created, along with 568 education and health jobs, and 350,000 service jobs, and 356,000 manufacturing jobs. And he said it will take off at a level that has never been according to their trade policy, which is crap because there's price gouging on certain products such as disinfectants and hand sanitizer. He touts the African-American job rate. He made sure he tout that. He said overall it's 400,000 jobs for African-Americans, 700,000 jobs for African-Americans. So why the unemployment rate is so high, but I'm about to get those numbers in a minute. 1.5 million jobs for Hispanics. He made sure he said that. Consumer confidence is high. This is all the lies he said. We have relationship with governors. Mike Pence talked to them, say the governors didn't need anything. So why the South and everything, they having issues overfilling their hospital capacity. They lying to you. They said they're doing ventilators, assembling a lot of ventilators for people, 1,000 a week. And he said the third quarter would be fantastic. All this nonsense. I'm not even going to read all this crap, but so Mnuchin was asked about why does Trump not urge people to wear a mask, or why is he not wearing a mask? I think he said something that a few questions I cannot comment about the coronavirus. He said, you know, Donald Trump explained that everybody should be socially distanced, wearing masks, wash your hands. And he said he's monitoring numbers in high cases. And somebody asked, does he regret for states to reopen like the South and the West Coast? And he said, no, we had a very careful plan working with states. And it's primarily the state's responsibility that we can get back to work safely. No, the hell is not. It's the federal government's responsibility. Like scientists from Columbia, along with economists from other universities and other companies, have said we should have did a national lockdown. Like Spain did it. Italy did it. I'm not sure about France, but they all did a national lockdown. That's why their cases remain flatline in the 200,000s, while we, the United States of America, is almost at 3 million cases of COVID-19 and almost 30,000 deaths because of this politicized ideology about wearing the mask. It's my religious breath, my religious right, all this bullshit. You ain't gonna be saying that when you're on the ventilator about to die, because 9 times out of 10, you're not coming off that ventilator. I know people that died from COVID-19. And it's not their fault. They caught it and they didn't know, and did not know that they were health compromised. Not at all. So when I hear shit like this from the Republicans and talking about, oh, it's about the economy, get back to work, people don't need to live off the unemployment, but people in these red states are seeing surges in their cases. I'm excluding California because eventually, you know, Gavin Newsom is not even a Republican governor, but we're seeing rising cases in mostly Republican states. Georgia, Arizona, and Florida. The 3 main states that were so pressed about reopening, and they're seeing cases climbing in the 100,000s, close to the 200,000 mark. Texas is about to see 200,000 cases real soon. Florida's on the uptick. Arizona about to see 100,000 cases, and they state don't even have enough capacity for the hospital. So when people talk this shit about New York and New Jersey and Massachusetts and Rhode Island and Connecticut, those states have not seen rises cases in their in COVID-19. New York and New Jersey cases have stayed the same. But New Jersey's is flat falling, and New York's will definitely fall. Because why? Because we're not opening in a 50% capacity. We're lucky to get to 50% capacity. And even that, people are real skeptical about going back to work, going back to school. People are real skeptical. And we're supposed to be a second wave of this thing during flu and cold season. So you don't know if you have the flu, you don't know if you have the cold, you don't even know you have this and that. But still, like, you're in a rush to reopen and saying, like, it will go away. It's July. It's hot. It's still here. It's here. It's not going away. And speaking of the real job numbers, the Associated Press, you could look up the article, said the unemployment rate did go down to 11.1, but it's still relatively high. Depression era. It's high like that since the recession in 1982, but it can fall to a depression. You don't want a depression in the 21st century. We got the stuff for it, but it will be years for it to recover. You thought the recession in 2008 was terrible? This is going to be worse. It's going to be worse. And due to spikes in states like California, Texas, Arizona, and Florida, as I mentioned, they had to reclose or otherwise clamp down on bars and restaurants and movie theaters and beaches. Florida's beaches are closed this 4th of July. People going to be suffering in the house. And it's hot down there in Florida. Shit. Also, people are out of a job for the second time. So now they got to file for that unemployment. Republicans talking about ending the extra $106 for unemployment. So those who are on unemployment and about to apply, I don't know what you're going to do. I had to answer to myself too what I'm going to do. Even though I actually applying for jobs. Trump claimed the economy, like I said, is roaring back, all this stuff. But Biden said to him, it's just like last month. Trump spiked the ball and made it about himself. He did make it about himself. And it doesn't seem to realize that he's not even in the 50-yard line, which is true. Well, an economist said from Alliance Bernstein said even as we move into a second half of the year, a large number of people will still be looking for work, which is true. He's also say layoffs are still at a running high, and number of Americans that applied for unemployment last week were 1.4, but the numbers are going to climb by like next week, or at the end of this week actually. Also, the number of Americans who lost their jobs permanently is at 600,000, which is almost 3 million people. Also, the job growth in June was driven mainly by companies recalling their workers, asking for their workers to come back. So all this job creation that Donald Trump is talking about is a lie. People are going back to work because they were asked to come back. Always remember, they were asked to come back. He did not create jobs. I wish people would stop saying that, because it's really disingenuous when people say crap like that and, and just lie. You cannot lie to people, because it's so sad, because people really take the words of the person that holds the highest office of the land in this country, aka the president of the United States. So once again, those numbers that he's talking about, job creation, workers, retail people, people from other camps, people that work at jobs where it contain people, we call their people to come back to work. Like retail, like hospitality. They call their people back to work. And Mitch McConnell said, like I said about that extra $600. They ended that this month. And they got to come up with relief bills. And Steve Mnuchin said he's open to some, but he wants it to go to more businesses. No, it needs to go to the pockets of the people. There's people that I am lucky. I have no kids. But there's people that got more than one kid. There's people that got 3 kids that need that money. Like that bill that Kamala Harris had out. That bill would help $2,000 in the individual's pocket. And then an extra $200,000 for your child. That's good. And then the unemployment rate, if you think about it, 10 million, what is it? It said the unemployment rate for white people fell at 10.1% versus from 12.2. For black people, it fell like about 1.4%. So it's still relatively high. It's at 15.4. Latinos is, it fell from like almost like 3 points. It fell from 3 points, 3.2 points. So it's at 14.5. Black unemployment still high. So don't believe what Donald Trump said, because it's bull. Unemployment is still high. And speaking of Republicans' denial of COVID-19, I got all these papers of COVID-19. Herman Cain, I think y'all saw it on my post, tested positive for COVID-19. Herman Cain is a former Republican presidential candidate of 2008 who's African-American, who's 74 years old, a former colon cancer survivor who had a 30% chance of living, saw a lot of chemo treatment, and has been cancer-free since 2007. So it's almost been 15 years since he's been cancer-free. Was diagnosed. He went to the rally in Tulsa, Oklahoma with no mask, sitting shoulder to shoulder with people, smiling and shit, took the picture, posted on it, and next thing you know, he was not feeling good. And a statement from his people was, because he's recovering in a hospital at Atlanta, said, what did he say? We honestly have no idea where he contracted it. I realize people will speculate about the Tulsa rally, but he did a lot of travel for the past week, including Arizona, where cases are spiking. That's what his editor said. No. You went to that Tulsa rally with no mask. He probably been traveling around the states with no mask, interacting with people, shaking their hands, giving them hugs, and you caught COVID-19. And Paris Denard, if you don't know who Paris Denard is, I decide that you do your research. His name is ParisDennard. Paris Denard. He is a RNC advisor for Black Media Affairs. Was sitting right behind Herman Cain, who tested positive for COVID-19, and he said that he has exhibits zero symptoms and regularly wears a face covering. Doesn't matter, because in that picture, he sure enough didn't have a face covering. He did not have one. He was smiling like this. Big cheesy ass smile. That's what I'm saying. These Republicans keep denying stuff. And then Brian Kemp telling today said, I encourage you to wear a mask, but if you don't want to wear a mask, I'm not making it a rule. But the governor in Texas is putting a mandate and said wear a mask because cases is rising in Texas. I mean, these Republicans with their mixed messaging, all of a sudden, some of them want to find Jesus and some of them still want to hold true to their religious freedom caucus, whatever crap ideology. Like, wearing a mask is important. You have to wear a mask. You have to wash your hands and social distance. You can't hug each other. We don't know. This virus is going to keep advancing. It's like influenza of 1918. I encourage you, and I'm going to do the same, to do your research. It's just plain and simple. Plain and simple. But on another note, off coronavirus, I did read a little bit. I didn't get the chance to read it. A little bit of the Washington Post article. And, of course, about Elizabeth Warren for the Veep stakes. And there's still some elite Black people still trying to push for her to be the VP. They still trying to write letters. They still, thinking like, oh, she's great and blah, blah, blah. So here's the thing. Elizabeth Warren, I respect her as a senator. I think she's an awesome senator. To be the vice president to Joe Biden, that don't mix. And not saying because of her race. I think she's awesome. But you need somebody who knows foreign policy, who has connections with the African American community. There's a plethora of Black women that can serve as his VP. And if Joe Biden really wants to win the nomination, he has to have a Black woman by his side. Because he ran with the first Black man for president and they won twice. It makes perfect sense. You also need someone that knows domestic policy in terms of with the Black community, in terms of our economics, in terms of just our infrastructure that goes in our healthcare system and our education system, because everything is so bad. I was just talking to a friend last night about Betsy DeVos, how she did something with college students during coronavirus that they're going to really have a hard time with their tuition or with housing or with anything. So when I hear people that just, thank you. When I hear people talking stupidness about we need someone that promote progressive policies and it's about progressives, are you referring to progressives that are Black, or are you referring to progressives that are just young white liberals? You got to be specific about the base that she has to reach out to, because Elizabeth Warren had a very hard time with the Black people in South Carolina. And South Carolina is my mom's home state. And there are some hardline voters. They look at you. If you're not bringing nothing to the table, they're not paying attention to you. Because my mother's the same way. She's the same exact way. She feel like you're not bringing nothing to the table, I'm not paying attention to you. So Joe Biden and his vetting team, they really have to vet a candidate. And Shantae, why Shantae's for a candidate of color? I was for the woman of color that was running for president, and you see what happened. Because I almost gave up on this primary. But my recent primary, I voted. And I voted for a candidate. And, of course, I voted for my House of Representatives, which she got in, thank God. And, to preferably be honest, like, there are a lot of qualified black women that are being vetted now. And I have a feeling one that I want as going to get it. I'm not saying the name, but because I don't want to jinx anything. But for Elizabeth Warren, for them to say, oh, she relates to the black experience, she has questions. Like, no, man. No. No. No, nope, and nopedy nope. So that's just my take on it. In terms of the NYC schools, this is going to be the last thing I talk about, because I'm switching gears. Bill de Blasio decides that he said the school is moving, NYC schools are moving full stream ahead for reopening in schools in September, according to the Daily News, the New York Daily News. He says, according to Mayor de Blasio, the city is on track to reopen the school this fall. We're in full stream ahead for September. The goal, of course, is to have the maximum of kids in our schools. That's the face that I have. Schools would use every conceivable space where kids can be taught while observing social distancing, rules requiring people to remain 6 feet away from one another. And they're calculating things on school distancing and all that bull crap. And then also people were saying they were comfortable. Listen, no. As a person who grew up in New York City, went to New York City's public schools from elementary all the way to high school, it's going to be a hard line for people to social distance. From elementary, junior high, and high school, they want to be near their friends because they couldn't be with their friends for like a whole couple of months since the pandemic. Why would you set yourself up for dumb shit like that? There's no summer school neither in person. It's all online. Duh. Like, why? What? No. Make no sense. It's make no sense. Bill de Blasio, I think you need to review that shit before, because we're supposed to see a second wave in September. Doctors are just seeing people, and they're not seeing people with an alarming rate. So I think you want to reconsider that. But anyhow, to conclude this live, I'm just going to say, just pay attention to what's going on. Please. Please believe, not just read. If you don't want to watch the news, just read. Read articles. Read, do your research. Because the coronavirus is real. We're living in some really unprecedented, crazy times. With civil unrest, with the police brutality, through this global pandemic, all colliding together at the same time. We're living in times of revelations, folks. If you need some spiritual healing, read your Bible, meditate, go for a walk, but put on your mask. So all I'm saying to you is, let's be vigilant. Like I said, let's be aware. Like I said, wash your hands and wear your mask. And stay sane, because we're going to get through this. It's just only a matter of time. There's no timeline to this, but only in a matter of time. You have a good night. I see you tomorrow, but I won't see you on Saturday. Have a good time.